Jala Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya.
Narayanam Namaskritya.
Naram Chaiva Narottama.
Naram Chaiva Narottama.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Tato Jayamudiraye. Nasta Preshu Abhadresu. Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttama Sloke. Bhaktir Vaibhati Naistiki. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 9. Lord Brahma's prayers for creative energy. Text number 21. Yan Nabi Padma Bhavana Aham Asha Ija Loka Trayopakarano Yad Anugrahena Tasmai Namaskar Indara Bhavaya Yoga Nidravasana Vikashan Nalinekshanaya Yana Vipadma Bhavanara Hamasam Ija Loka Trayopakarano Yadanugrahena Tasmai Namaskar Bhavaya Yoga Nidra Vasana Vikashan Nalinekshanaya Yana Vipadma Bhavanara Hamasamidja Loka Trayopakarano Yadanugrahena Tasmai Namaskar Bhavaya Yoga Nidra Vasana Vikashan Nalinekshanaya Yana Vipadma Bhavanara Hamashamidja Loka Trayopakarano Yadanugrahena Asmai Namaskar Bhavaya Yoga Nidra Vasana Vikashan Nalinekshanaya
Yana Vipadma Bhavanara Hamasamidja Lokatrayopakaruna Yad Anugrahena Tasmai Namasta Udarasta Bhavaya Yoga
Tasmai Tasmai Namastarudarasta Bhavaya Yoga.
Nidra Vasana Vikasana Vinekshanaya.
Nidra Vasana Vikashana Vinekshanaya. Yanna Vipadva Bhavanadahamasha Vidya.
Yana Vipadma Bhavanadahamashamidya.
Loko Trayopakarano Yadanugrahena.
Lokatrayopakarano yadanugrahena.
Tasmai Namasta Udarasta Bhavaya Yoga.
Tasmai Namastarudarasta Bhavaya Yoga.
Nidra Vasana Vikasanna Linekshanaya.
Nidra Vashana Vikashana Vinekshanaya.
Yoha Ave Padma Bhagave Aham Asam Itya.
Yana Vipadma Bhavanadahamashamidya.
Loka Tayo Pakaro Ya Akro Rehena.
Lokatrayopakarano yadanugrahena.
Tasmai Namaste Utaro Se Bhagavad Yoga.
Tasmai Namastarudarasta Bhavaya Yoga.
Nidan Vasana Vikasan Nila Satyaya.
Nidra
Vasana Vikashana Vinekshanaya.
Yana Vipadma Bhavanad Aham Asam Idya.
Yana Vipadma Bhavanadahamashamidya.
Lokatrayopakarano yadanugrahena.
Lokatrayopakarano yadanugrahena.
Tasmai Namasta Udarasta Bhavaya Yoga.
Tasmai Namastarudarasta Bhavaya Yoga.
Nidra Vasana Vikasana Vinekshanaya.
Nidra Vashana Vikashana Linekshanaya. Yat,
Yat.
whose, Nabi,
Nabi,
navel,
Navel.
Padma,
Padma,
lotus,
lotus,
Bhavana,
Bhavana,
from the house of
from the house of
Aham,
Aham,
I,
I.
Asham,
Asham,
became manifested.
became manifest.
Ija,
Vidya,
O worshipable one,
O
All
worshipful
worship one.
Lokatraya,
Lokatraya,
the three worlds,
The three worlds.
Upakarnaha,
Upakanaha.
helping in the creation of
Helping the creation of.
Yat,
Yat,
Yat.
whose
Whose.
Anugrahena,
Anugrahena.
by the mercy,
God the mercy.
Tasmai,
Tasmai.
unto him,
Unto you.
Namaha,
Nama.
my obeisancy,
My obeisance.
Te,
Take me.
unto you,
Unto you.
Udadasta,
Udadasa.
situated within the abdomen,
Situated within the abdomen.
Bhavaya,
Bhavaya.
having the universe,
Having the universe.
Yoganidra Abhashana,
Yoganidra.
after the end of that transcendental sleep,
After the end of transcendental sleep.
Vikashat,
Vikasat.
blossoming,
Blossoming.
Nalina,
Lalina.
Ikshanaya,
Shanaya.
unto him whose opening eyes are like lotuses. O object of my worship, I am born from the house of your lotus navel for the purpose of creating the universe by your mercy. All these planets of the universe were stationed within your transcendental abdomen while you were enjoying sleep. Now, your sleep having ended, your eyes are open like blooming lotuses in the morning. Please repeat. O object of my worship,
O object of my worship,
I am born from the house of your lotus navel
I am born from the house of the lotus navel,
for the purpose of creating the universe
for the purpose of creating the universe
by your mercy.
by your mercy.
All these planets of the universe
All these planets of the universe,
were stationed within your transcendental abdomen
stationed within your transcendental abdomen,
while you were enjoying sleep.
while you are enjoying sleep.
Now your sleep having ended,
Now your sleep having ended,
your eyes are opening
your eyes are opening,
like blooming lotuses in the morning.
like blooming lotuses in the morning.
Srila Prabhupada's divine purport. Brahma is teaching us the beginning of the Archana process, or Archana regulations, from morning, 4 o'clock, to night, 10 o'clock. Early in the morning, the devotee has to rise from his bed and pray to the Lord. And there are ever regulative principles for offering Mangalarti early in the morning. Foolish non-devotees, not understanding the importance of Archana, criticize the regulative principles. But they have no eyes to see that the Lord also sleeps by his own will. The impersonal conception of the Supreme is so detrimental to the path of devotional service that it is very difficult to associate with the stubborn non-devotees who always think in terms of material conceptions. Impersonalists always think backwards. They think that because there is form in matter, spirit should be formless. Because in matter there is sleep, in spirit there cannot be sleep. And because the sleeping of the deity is accepted in Archana worship, the Archana is mild. All these thoughts are basically material. To think either positively or negatively is still thinking materially. Knowledge accepted from the superior source of the Vedas is standard. Here, in these verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam, we find that Archana is recommended. Before Brahma took up the task of creation, he found the Lord sleeping on the serpent bed in the waters, or in the waves of the waters of devastation. Therefore, sleeping exists in the internal potency of the Lord. And this is not denied by a pure devotee, by pure devotees of the Lord, like Brahma, in his disciplic succession. It is clearly said here that the Lord slept very happily within the violent waves of the water, manifesting thereby that he is able to do anything and everything by his transcendental will and not be hampered in any circumstances. The Mayavadi cannot think beyond his material experience, and thus he denies the Lord's ability to sleep within the water. His mistake is that he compares the Lord to himself. And that comparison is also a material thought. The whole philosophy of the Mayavad school, based on not this, not that, neti, is basically material. Such thought cannot give one the chance to know the Supreme Personality of Godhead as He is. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport to the 21st verse, 9th chapter, 3rd canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, Brahma's prayers for creative energy. Yana Bipama Pavanarahama Shamidja Loka Trayopakarano Yaranugrahena Tasmai Namas Tarurarasta Baba Yoga Nidra Vashana Vikashan Malinek Shanaya. Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So wonderful purport Srila Prabhupada gives here. It should help the devotees take the necessary rest after a hard day's work. Srila Prabhupada also says in the Krishna book, because the gopis worked hard, they could sleep soundly at night. That's the answer to a lot of problems. Simply, people, they're clamoring for exercise. But many devotees work so hard. Sometimes one's bound to an office and they're working with their brain. And that also burns up so much energy. But in such a situation, they also have to find the time to do the proper exercise so the body doesn't get bad in certain places. But out on the farm, a lot of us are constantly walking around and exercising in various works like Shiraz construction work or the devotees in the gardens, or with the speaker devotees that have to constantly stand up. That can also be a little bit cumbersome when we have to stand in one place for a long time, like cooking, cutting, where you have a limited amount of movement. Then one has to find more movement. So you find that the best exercise is like the old Jewish doctor told Srila Prabhupada after he had a stroke. He went in and examined Prabhupada and the devotees, questioning. And when he left, they said, what do you recommend? Something like that, but they definitely said, what do you recommend? He said, the old man prays too much. He's got to walk. He's got to walk more. He's got to get some exercise. And they thought the guy was crazy. But the next day, Prabhupada informed everybody, no, he was right. And from that day on, he did his morning walk. And we see devotees. We see, like my nephew, Subal. He was bound up in school, to sit on a desk. He certainly played football. But, after a while, you start to understand. At that time, he was playing football. Played in his ninth grade. He played in 10th grade, 11th grade. He's getting ready to go into 12th grade. And all these articles start coming out in Sports Illustrated. How, all these football players are getting concussions from the very beginning. And even soccer players from the ball hitting them. With the speak of boxers. The thing is just when you put a constant trauma on the head, then later it can lead to all kinds of concussions you don't know about. Just like the great Muhammad Ali, previously Cassius Clay, a world famous Olympic and professional boxer, he died from Alzheimer's and various brain diseases that in his elderly years left him debilitated and shaking because too much trauma to the head. So, Subal began to realize that, and he didn't play that 12th grade. But then, going to college and sitting behind a computer and sitting behind video games, which, devotees don't have to do. It'd be nice if they made some devotee ones where, like the Battle Kurukshetra, but, the men always enjoy all this fighting stuff on video games. And I'm sure there must be some for ladies, but I've noticed that the men tend to play more video games. But the thing is, there you are, you're spending hours and hours and hours that should be meant for some type of exercise, if not practical work. But sometimes people, they're stressed out from work, and that's what they do for recreation. But the thing is, it's limiting one, especially if one's work only left one standing or sitting in one place or in an office. So anyway, he began to put on weight. I forget what he got up to. And finally, one day, like about not even a year ago, he decided he was going to do something about his physique. And all he did was walk. 9 miles a day almost. Always walking. And then doing whatever schoolwork he had to do. Constantly get out there and work. And then he also watched his diet. He didn't like just eat chips. And, a lot of processed food, processed cheese, and all kinds of things like that. Whereby one puts on a lot of weight, a lot of fried, oily stuff, and sugary. So he watched that. And then, just recently on Facebook, I noticed he said, I don't normally come out like this, but, I'm going to, reveal that, I was really, really overweight most of my life. And I decided to do something about it. I just want to show you, what it does to get out there and walk and watch your diet. And he took some pictures of himself posing, and posted it up there. And it's true. Also, our dear friend Suka, who works out there and also works hard during the day, he went through the football thing and even got a scholarship based on playing football to the little local community college, not to LSU or Alabama, these big football schools. They take only the elite. So anyway, Suka was able to get a scholarship to the little community college in Poplarville. But then he also realized at the same time, why am I beating my head around like this? This isn't going to be good in the long run. And he quit. So the point of all that is that the gopis worked hard during the day. Consequently, they could sleep soundly at night if Krishna didn't take them away, in their transcendental body, whereby they could come back in the morning and somehow ever work hard again during the day, even though they had been up for a day of Brahma. Although it's one night in Vrindavan, and even in Gokula on the earth, it's one night, 12 hours for those playing in the human form, but it's a day of Brahma, which is infinite human nights that they're enjoying with Krishna. And these, Rasa Leela and all kinds of other pastimes that Krishna enjoys with his cowherd girlfriends. So just amazing. But then, when it is time for sleep, they can sleep soundly, no problem, working so hard at night. Not to say that there isn't some material problems in this material world where people can't sleep. Even Prabhupada couldn't sleep because of ringing in the ear. Consequently, he became inspired to get up and translate, Srimad Bhagavatam, but he always had, I forget what they call that, it's a ringing in the ear, and can keep you up. And so many other things can also, especially if people are stressed out in the world. But it's good if we can use our power of mind to control our physical body, because after all, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that the body can be controlled by the senses, and the senses can be controlled by the mind, and the mind can be controlled by the intelligence, and intelligence by the soul. So by the power, and the soul, of course, surrendered to Krishna, gets power. Just like we were talking a couple of days ago when Maharaj was giving class, that everything wonderful is a representation of Krishna, because Krishna is everything. But everything is not Krishna, but Krishna is everything. Krishna is the ability in man. So therefore the best of everything represents Krishna. Consequently, Krishna says, of warriors I am Arjuna, because Arjuna is the best warrior. Of devotees I am Prahlad, etc. So many, he says, because those are the best representations. He's not going to pick out the worst thing and say, of captains, I'm so-and-so, and everybody goes, oh my God. No, because, even though in reality, that material nature that is encumbering that particular soul, where they're not the best in the West, that's still Krishna's energy. And if Krishna wants, he can put that soul to sleep and he can play the role of that person. You know, because Krishna is everything. Everything is an expansion of Krishna, even if it's small, and even if it's his inferior material energy composed of modes that are tamasic and rajasic and sattvic. It's Krishna's energy. And so, you know, in one sense, you know, Krishna is everything. But everything is not Krishna. You can't be Krishna, I can't be Krishna, and neither can the Mayavadi sannyasis be Krishna, despite how articulate they may be in dozens of languages, including Sanskrit, and be able to, you know, take words apart and backwards and forwards and compose so many verses. You know, it's, you know, they also can't be Krishna. And if they say it, in one sense, especially in this Kali Yuga, they're simply playing the part of a demon. They may not be coming and dismantling temples and physically accosting devotees, but they're trying to defeat Krishna because they're saying, you know, Krishna's form doesn't exist, and I'm Krishna, and to prove it, they just give some philosophical evidence. I'm Krishna because, don't you know, ultimately everything is light, and by the practice of yoga, we can merge into that Brahma Jyoti. You know, that's where we come from, and that's where we go. And they convince the less intelligent, because after all, we're less intelligent. We're going to listen to the more intelligent. You know, especially when in the role of teachers. They're older, they're the teacher, you know, they have that post, they're the Swami. You know, I happen to be sent to their ashram due to my unfortunate karma. And naturally, I'm not going to question. They're more intelligent. I'll be just made into a fool if I argue with them. So, you know, just see how despicable that the teacher is teaching me wrong. So in that sense, a demon. So that's why Prabhupada challenged. That's why Prabhupada criticized the Mayavadi. Because they're misleading humanity. No. Krishna is everything, yes. Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. But Brahman is only his orator, his effulgence. Yes, it's all pervading. Everything's situated in it. It's Sat. It's eternal. It's completely spiritual. But you are not it, and neither are you just a particle of it. You're a person, like Krishna. Therefore, you have senses, like Krishna. You have intelligence, like Krishna. You have desire, like Krishna. But the difference is Krishna is unlimitedly great, and everything's coming from him, whereas just a little bit comes from us. And to us, it may seem like a lot. From just a lemon tree comes unlimited citrus. Everything has its uniqueness, including individual people. You know, they all have all sorts of attributes that are amazing. I mean, you know, like John can work like an ox, you know? I mean, God, I mean, that guy can do some powerful work. You know, so everybody's got their talents and abilities. It all comes from Krishna. And Krishna can do any of it all the time. And in one sense, he's doing it all the time because we're all his energy. Everything is his energy. It's all going on by his will. So the Mayavadis, they don't want to acknowledge it. They put, like Prabhupada said, they think backwards. Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. And Bhagavan represents Maya because it has form. And it's just for the neophyte yogis, the devotees. They're the neophytes. Just like the ladies and the children, the neophyte devotees should worship deities because it helps them to fix their mind on a person that they believe spoke the Veda. And that's what we have to listen to, because after all, Vedanta Sutra teaches us that we are Brahman, which is a complete misinterpretation of what Vyasadeva wrote. But because, you know, that was Lord Shiva's mission, to fool people and to and to, again, accepting the Veda. Because these people had been all, their brains had been contaminated by Buddhist philosophy saying that everything was nothing. I think I talked about that last week. Oh yes, everything is nothing. With a fallacious philosophy, everything is nothing. But, people were contaminated like that. And so, Lord Shiva in the form of Sankaracharya said, no, everything's not nothing. This is nonsense philosophy. Everything is brilliant, light, jyoti. It's eternal. And we don't dismantle the body to become nothing. We dismantle the mind and senses and false ego to become Brahman. But Brahman is not first in the order. That's why they're thinking backwards. Paramatma and Bhagavan are not below Brahman. Brahman is below Paramatma. And Paramatma is below Bhagavan. And Bhagavan is that unique person that makes all of us unique. Everything is personal because Bhagavan is a person. Everything has come from the Supreme Person, thus everything is personal. But they don't dare to say that. They don't believe that there's a person behind the sun. They do not believe that. It's just a ball of chemical fire, combustion. Amazing power. But a person behind it, you'll get laughed out of the scientific classroom. Because they have no faith. But that's the secret of success. Simply they have faith in the words of the spiritual master in Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord. We have faith in the words of the spiritual master and the Supreme Lord. Then we can understand when we look at the sun that one of the greatest of the Devas is there. And he's the first recipient of the Bhagavad Gita. He's one of the greatest devotees. And he's doing this wonderful job for Krishna in this universe, providing light and warmth to all living entities. And he has the power to heal anything. So, the devotees, when they look at the sun, the sun can become pleased because they're not thinking of him as just some sort of big ball of combustion that, somehow ever, they're able to take advantage of. No, but we see the person behind the sun and, appreciate their devotional service. So, that's the difference between the devotees and the non-devotees, or especially the Mayavadis. We understand that there's a person behind everything. And, and they believe there's only some brilliant light behind everything. And it's amazing how Lord Chaitanya converted these Mayavadis. He gave them what they want. That's what they say. Give them what they want. Tell them what they want to hear. Prabhupada was expert at that, but then he could do it in Krishna consciousness in such a way that ultimately they could accept his argument or think about his argument and become devotees if they were fortunate enough. But still he could communicate with anyone and have a create a wonderful relationship. Even Dr. Mishra, who he stayed with when he came, was a Mayavadi. And he was sick. But Prabhupada made prasadam every day and fed him, and he became well. And he appreciated Prabhupada. And to this day, with his disciplinate succession, his ashram, devotees maintain a good rapport. And they invite us to sometimes teach devotees like Yogeshwar and Garuda preach up there in New York, where their ashram still is, amongst this group. Yeah. Our friend Michelle Baker, who has the Swan River Yoga, who's come here to many yoga fests and has helped us in a lot of ways, she's in that line of disciplinate succession of yoga people. So, I had something else I wanted to say then. Forget it now. We got too much off on that. Yeah, so, like Prabhupada, we can we can teach this absolute truth and free the world from this grave misconception of Mayavad philosophy. And with the speak of the just impersonalism in general, I mean, most people who think of the absolute truth as just impersonal, whether they be Christians, Jews, or Muslims, you know, we have to convince them that no, it's a divine person. And, you know, do what we need to do in order to instill some faith in them. We have to somehow ever give faith, as hard as that may be, to people who are faithless, you know, and who are indoctrinated and who are sound in their beliefs, in arguments, that the truth is something different. You know, it takes a lot of Shakti or prowess to do that, but we can get that from our disciplic succession because we have such fantastic devotees, you know, beginning from Brahma. Who can't Brahma convince? I mean, you know, all these so-called intelligent Mayavadis, when Brahma stands before them, they're nothing. Oh, I was going to say how Lord Chaitanya converted them all. He gave them what they wanted. What do they want? They want life. So when Lord Chaitanya came and sat before them in a humble way, and they all persuaded him to get up and sit amongst them, because, I mean, it's like he was sitting on the porch where the shoes were. We would say, no, come into the temple room. Lord Chaitanya was so humble, but he was emanating so much jyoti from his body that they were stunned, because for him that's a big thing. Now maybe for us a big thing is how one can glorify God, because we're devotees, we like glorifying God. And when you see a devotee who can glorify Krishna so nicely, it's really appreciable and, you know, astounding even. So Lord Chaitanya, he did that when he defeated the Dikvijay Pandit, who had the goddess Saraswati. He was her servant, and she would always appear in his tongue. And every scholar in the world, you know, was afraid of him because he was so great in his dissertations and his ability to compose verse and to chant it so beautifully. But Lord Chaitanya was able to pick it all apart and turn him into a real devotee, because he had become puffed up with his ability and was riding around on elephants and glorifying himself as being big Pandit. So Lord Chaitanya put him back in his place. No, I'm just Gopi Bharatu, Padakamala, Das, Anudas. I'm just the servant of the servant of the servant of the devotees. And I should be using everything for that. And I got to watch, you know, getting too contaminated by so much money and fame. And he renounced everything. Became a devotee, gave his elephants away, gave his money away, gave his servants away, and he walked away just to teach Krishna consciousness. So, you know, we have to somehow we can be just a little instrument. We may not be able to be a big instrument like Arjuna, or like even the Dikvijay became a big instrument for Krishna, or so many other Lord Chaitanya's great powerful devotees. But we can always be just a little instrument and help somebody else become Krishna conscious, or to do things to help a lot of people become Krishna conscious, like maintaining temples, building temples, you know, feeding people by growing our own food and offering it to Krishna, or even cooking whatever's available and offering it to Krishna. Because I never got to speak on it, but, you know, I mean, after all, this, the first part of this purport was about Archana, the process of deity worship. And that's what you have to get used to, Sukshma, and that's the beginning especially. You know, that's why we get up early, because we're coming in to worship Krishna. And there's a whole process for worshiping Krishna. That's when he gets up. So, you know, being a student, being in the ashram, having the ability to go to bed on time, and people expecting you to do that. Go to bed on time, get up on time, come in and perform sadhana. That's the most important part of the day. And then help, you know, serve Krishna during the day. And like the gopis, sleep soundly at night. You know, as I was going to say, with the power of our mind, we have to tell our muscles and all of our nerves and hormones. Calm it down. Take rest. Ease it up. You know, don't be so tight. Don't be so stressful. Loosen up. You got to loosen up that jaw. But sometimes we go to bed so stressed. In the middle of the night, we're grinding our teeth. I mean, that's a fact. A lot of people do that. So we ourselves have to control the body by telling you what to do. You have to sleep soundly at night because we got another day for Krishna tomorrow. That sound sleep will do the most for us. Okay, so we got to stop because it's getting late. And my mother, Nara Priya's got a question.
I wanted to comment, I found it funny because that's exactly what happened to me last night. I used to sleep like a rock. But I lost my wallet yesterday and I searched and searched the entire day. Couldn't find it and I refused to go to sleep until I found it. I never did.
Gee, that happens with my keys.
It was so